Good evening, and we're coming on the air at this hour with breaking news after the U.S. warned all day of a full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, that it was imminent. Vladimir Putin has just addressed the Russian people moments ago, announcing what Putin called the start of a military special operation. In his words, to demilitarize Ukraine, that Russia would bring in troops.
Welcome to my rock doc about the making of the album Jericho Road, and the different songs and what it's about. It starts really, the gestation starts with a year ago really, just over a year ago, with the two things. A desire to make another album following up from Prodigal, which was just coming to its conclusion at that stage. And the idea of that being something around the story of the Good Samaritan as a follow-up on the story of the lost son. Which is formed on the basis of a question asked by a lawyer to Jesus, who is my neighbour? At the very point as that's in my mind, and we're also facing the Ukrainian war, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and notions of neighbourliness and who should be doing who to what and how and why and all the rest of it come very much to the fore, don't they, at that stage? So that shaped my thinking really, and much of what comes after that, in terms of the album, is a reflection of my own personal thoughts and feelings about the world, about the war, about the way the war is being portrayed, and about how we're all, on a journey called life, and we're all trying to make the best of it. Not always easy, but that's the story of Jericho Road. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the video, and like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Give me a like. The lawyer asks Jesus a question, and he says, Master, what must I do to get eternal life? And Jesus asks him what the commandments are, and love your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and love your neighbour as you love yourself. And then he, trying to be clever, says, but who is my neighbour? And so Jesus tells this parable of a man walking from Jerusalem to Jericho, a notoriously bad road for being robbed, and he gets robbed. And two people passing by who should have helped and didn't. And then another man passes him by who had no reason to help him but did. And the lawyer correctly identifies that man as being the one who acted in a neighbourly way. To which Jesus responds, well, you do the same and you'll be saved. So that was the theological element of it. What struck me very early on, though, was trying to write, whilst I was able to write narrative songs for Prodigal, I was finding it harder to put ideas together for the parable of the Good Samaritan. And so I thought a bit broader. And I started thinking, well, all right, neighbourliness, brotherliness, human empathy, set against the backdrop of war and terror and all those sort of things. And fundamentally, that's where Jericho Road is heading. That's where the story is. So the album opens up with a track called Storm Radio, which is basically a collage of radio traffic news broadcasts from the time of the week after the Russian invasion in February 2022. There's all sorts on there. There's Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, there's CBN and BBC and all manner of stuff, even some footage of the actual fighting itself, audio footage if you like, of the fighting itself on there. It just raises the curtain on the album really. The first half of the album is a bit sort of war-based, well, it's war-based, it's kind of really about different elements of the war, before we move on to other parts of it. So the first proper track on the album is called War Baby, and it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek look at how the media feeds into war and feeds off war, and how to some extent modern war requires the help and support of the media to maintain public interest in the fighting the good fight, if you like. And so I talk about fake news and mainstream media, and you know what we're fighting for, and the kind of entertainment value of it, really. Keep it going for as long as we can. It's a follow-up from War Baby. The Fall flips the coin over. I remember the first weekend after the Russian invasion, a news report came on that Vladimir Putin, who I just think's a dick, let me just say that publicly, announced that if the West went too far in supporting the Ukraine, he had nuclear weapons. I mean, yeah, so we've had. That's a winner, isn't it? But for the first time in a long time, I felt fearful of the prospect that we thought we'd left behind of nuclear war and the madness of that. And so this song tries to, The Fall, tries to, you know, look at some of those fears, some of those questions. We didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming. You know, 20 years back, nobody was thinking the Cold War would start again. There would be tension between Russia and the West. But that's where we are, and that's what The Fall's about. So the next track is Questions. Now, Questions was the first track he actually recorded for Prodigal. I recorded that actually on the 1st of March 2022, before Prodigal had even been properly finished. It's a musical instrumental piece. It's unashamedly Floydian, but it is. But it acts as a nice interlude. It was meant to open the album before I changed. It now sits where Storm Radio was going to sit, and Storm Radio opens the album. Questions is just it's an interlude. It's a calming, tranquil place before we move on to other parts of the album. Brother. I suppose it's the first one. Well, it's the first one on the album that kind of reflects more on human relationships and who we are and our common shared journey. The idea that we're brothers, that we're neighbours, that actually, regardless of difference of race, colour, creed, and all the multitude of other differences that people find to differentiate themselves these days, we are actually all people on a common journey. And I think that was the message that Jesus tried to get through on in the story of Good Samaritan. A man who, you know, had no cause to helped. Why? Because he saw his fellow traveller in trouble. We're all fellow travellers together. We're all on different parts of the Jericho Road. Sometimes we stumble and fall. Sometimes we certainly do walk past on the other side. There's no doubt about it, we do. Other times the better part of our nature takes over and we help. And I think that's the message of the song, Brother. Pro Patria, I think it's a beautiful song, and it's developed from a wish on the one hand to provide something for my local church on Remembrance Sunday of 2022, just something a bit different. And I wrote the song with that in mind, but also with the idea that it will be on the album. It's a tribute to the Great War veterans. As I speak now, there's virtually no World War II veterans around anymore. There's certainly none from the Great War, 1914-18. And I thought it would be nice. It's always been a war that's had a I don't know why, some kind of emotional significance for me. I grew up surrounded by elderly men who were Great War veterans, often with limbs missing, you know, and stories they could tell but didn't. So I wrote the original track, I re-recorded it half a dozen times. I then recorded a second part, which was called Voices, and that was going to be a separate track, but I decided to merge them together into one track. And it's actually a very affecting number, I think. It's got a lovely somber. It's somber, but it's not morbid. You know, it's a somber subject, but it's basically, it just calls us to remember and to reflect, and just to think about what those people did. They exist no more now than photographs and chiselled names in war memorials up and down the country. The song itself is based on the Wilfred Owen poem Dolce et Decorum Est Pro Patria Mori, and he himself was, of course, a victim of the Great War. So that's the track there, Pro Patria Mori and Voices. Yeah, we move on then to the track Empathy. I had a wonderful spate of recording during a week in October of 2022. I had a week off work and I got loads done. A lot of Pro Patria, The Fall, large parts of the song Jericho Road, and this song. And it kind of came out of nowhere. I had a piece that I'd recorded in June, and I'd listened to it, and I knew there was a song in it, but I couldn't quite make what I had fit a lyric, and the lyric fit what I had. So I basically wrote my lyric, and using what I had as a basis of a track, re-recorded that and used that. And I like it as a song. And the bit I really do like about it, there's a vocal middle eight, a vocal bridge, if you like. Most of the time I do a guitar solo with a lot of guitar work on Jericho Road. On this song, it's a vocal bridge, and I wrote it really quickly. It literally came out of my mouth in 4 or 5 minutes tops. Recorded it. I had my microphone in place, and there's pictures you'll see of that. And it came together really quickly. And as the piece goes, I'm really pleased with it. It works really well. It's a good song. It's quite a lively song as well, because I accept that a lot of this album is actually, certainly up till this point, is actually quite somber in some respects. It's not necessarily a cheery album, although War Baby is a rocky song. The Fall is more Floydian, steady pace. Empathy. It's just a little bit more uplifting, I think. Sunshine. Yeah, that's it's very autobiographical, I think. It's kind of about me, really. There's no particular relevance, oddly enough, with Sunshine to anything particularly on the album. It's just an affirming piece for myself, really. It just says, you know, where I am, you know, and that my nature is, you know, sunshine, rain, wind, storm, whatever. Just to try and ride over it, to get on with it, to battle through life, deal with what I have to deal with. Yeah, that's, you know, I like it. I like it as a song. It's one of my favourite songs. It's got a great rhythm, a great groove. Again, it's quite a lively song. I think it's my star track. Yeah. The track Jericho Road starts. It's in 3 parts. It has the slow build up. I'll comment somewhere. It's a bit Shine on You, Crazy Diamond. Just not that good. It has this slow build up. It's a part 1, 2, and 3 song. Part 1 is the slow build up, and actually has a starring role by none other than the Reverend Billy Graham. I found a recording of him preaching on the story of the Good Samaritan, and he repeatedly asks, "Who is my neighbour?" And so that you hear that going through it as a refrain through part 1 of Jericho Road. Moves into part 2, which is a bit the rocky bit. Comes in with electric guitars, drums, real build up, and you know, asks the question. It kind of shapes Jericho Road as being what I've said all along, this journey of life. Where are we on the Jericho Road? Who do we meet? How do we respond? It's our, I used the phrase about the people walking past with casual disdain, looking at people around them with no interest in them whatsoever. Or are you the person who breaks the mould, who does something different? Are you the one who actually does help and try to move humanity forward? Do we saddle this guy up, bind his wounds, pay his debts, or do we just leave him? Where are you on the Jericho Road? That's part 2 of the song. So the third part of the song Jericho Road then just that brings the album to a conclusion. It's a musical piece again. Doesn't ask any questions. It just gives you the time to reflect and to pause and to think about what you've heard and how we respond to that. I'd like to offer some deep and meaningful meaning to the final part of Jericho Road, but there isn't one. But as a song, it works really well. It's just under 10 minutes. I've never recorded anything that long as one track. There's 2 different beats to it. There's the opening and closing tempo, I think, is 80 beats per minute. And the middle bit is 100 beats per minute. So it picks up there. There's a lot going on. Took a lot of mixing as tracks go. But yeah, I think as a title track and as a closing on the album, I think it's a good piece actually, and again it's quite optimistic. It challenges, it poses questions, it challenges, but I think it also is quite optimistic. Gives us the option. It gives us the option. That's all we need really, don't we? The options to make the right choices in life.
I guess it's what you'd call a rainy day, when you watch and hope that the grey clouds will blow away, and it's something like the feeling you get inside. It's the kind.
So on reflection, I think it's a really good album. I think it sounds good. I think there's a nice flow to it. I think there's a nice mix of songs and styles to it. It's clearly me, as it ought to be. But it works, I think, as an album. I think I prefer it to Prodigal. I think Prodigal was a difficult birthing, a 6-month project that went on for 2 years, just about. Jericho Road, I didn't set a time limit on, but did it in less than a year. Nice mix of music on it, I think, some good lyrics, some thoughtful lyrics, I think. I hope you enjoy it. It comes out on the 31st of March on all the various digital platforms. Please download it. It's free to download. You can listen to it quite easily, so please do, and let me know what you think of it. And I hope you enjoy it. And I don't know what the next project's going to be. I've nothing in mind at the minute. I don't think I'll do anything this side of the autumn. Now I'll let myself rest and recuperate from it and pick it up again back end of the year, I think, and we'll see what comes up from that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Jericho Road, have a listen.